Let's talk about drugs. Drug use is a sensitive subject for many Americans, but it's not a conversation we can ignore. Over 20,000 Americans died in 2017 from prescription opioids, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And we spend nearly $27 billion of taxpayer money annually trying to keep drugs off our streets. In lieu of such a monumental struggle, we sometimes catch addicts themselves in the crossfire, blaming them for their own addiction and being infuriated that they can't stop themselves. We need to rethink how we approach addiction to move forward. Let's consider animals for a second. Animals sometimes engage in maladaptive, self-injurious behavior to cope with surrounding stress. This is common in creatures in a zoo that feel they have little control over their surroundings, and parallels the experience of a human addict that feels they have no control over their life. And although we like to indulge ourselves with the delusions of grandeur, humans are fundamentally instinctual. So in the same way that you wouldn't blame a bear for its stress response mechanism, it makes little sense to blame a person for coping through a learned mechanism. We should never forget the person behind the drug. We should not forget that everyone has circumstances that drive them, and to think that everyone should know better because you know better is solipsistic and lazy, and forgoes the fact that we all have our own vices. Even the healthiest of habits can become harmful in excess, and even drugs labeled as dangerous can be safe in moderation. Drinking 2 glasses of wine with dinner is considered healthy, but taking prescription antidepressants is considered a problematic dependency. We can't forget that many drugs also earn their reputations arbitrarily for political ends. Don't believe me? Nixon's former domestic policy advisor said himself, "The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had 2 enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and the blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did." Imagine keeping a drug proven to help with chemotherapy symptoms, chronic pain, seizures, and Tourette's, a Schedule I drug with no recognized medicinal purposes, for decades. Look, my argument is not that drug use is good for you, or that you should ignore someone's dependency on a harmful substance. I only argue that the stigma given to drug users is disproportional to the crime. In fact, there's likely no crime to begin with. This stigma is doled out based on bogus cultural baggage that has built up over the years to pursue alternative agendas and divide people. It's time to view drug use more responsibly, with greater objectivity and compassion. Rehabilitation over retribution.